Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
He is the group business editor of Leadership newspaper. Mr. Anthony Uko. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
I can't say Happy New Year because we've done
Yes,
program.
we've this is our
year.
second edition.
Yes,
for
happy
this year.
holidays. Welcome back to work. Now, on Energy Focus this afternoon, we are looking at how proliferation of charcoal stoves undermines decade of gas. How proliferation of charcoal stoves undermine decades of gas. The high price of cooking gas is driving many energy consumers to turn to charcoal for cooking. Unless drastic measures are taken to stop the trend, it would undermine the drive for cleaner energy through the declaration of the decade of gas by the federal government. This is a discussion topic we are going to be looking at on today's Energy Focus on Money Radio. Now, considering what we are talking about, how proliferation of charcoal stoves undermine decades of gas. Now, at a time in the country, the federal government procured so many stoves for Nigerians in order to transit away from charcoal use.
Yeah.
What has happened over the years? I remember so much money was budgeted for this exercise by the Ministry of Environment.
Yes. Let's even start from the gas, cooking gas itself, before we come down to the issue of the stoves that were procured by the federal government. Nigeria is a gas-rich country.
Yeah.
In fact, Nigeria is richer in gas reserves than it actually is in crude oil.
Wow.
So ordinarily, having gas to cook as energy for cooking should be the cheapest that you can even find,
Yes.
considering the large reserves deposit of gas in the country. However, that has not been the case. And in the last couple of months, in fact, the whole of last year, as a result of the Russian-Ukraine crisis, we saw a sharp spike in the price of gas, cooking gas, and that also impacted on Nigeria because Nigeria imports over 60% of its gas from outside. It's imported. So this has had a huge effect on Nigerians who had, by reason of the
gas deposits in his domain.
And again by reason of the declaration of the decade of gas by the federal government, and then the federal government also stepping in to begin to get cooking utensils that can support the use of gas. A lot of people had migrated. A lot of families had migrated to the use of gas. And again, more so since kerosene that was more commonly used was becoming way too expensive. However, all of this is on the verge of being lost. All of those gains that were recorded is on the verge of, if not actually lost. The last time I bought gas, I bought the 12.5 kg for over 10,000.
Yes, that's
and at a point it was even much higher than this. and this is an issue in the country.
It's so sad and very very unfortunate the fact that Nigeria has this large deposit of gas in its environment, yet it still waits on it, still import gas in order for its domestic use. And it's the same thing that's also playing out with our crude oil. We have
Yes.
crude in our domain, we take it out for refining and whereas and pay so much for it. Now, with has there been any concrete measures taken to overcome this challenge?
Yeah. Let's you were talking about the debt. Nigeria has up to 209 209 trillion standard cubic feet of gas as reserve. And according to experts, this level of reserves can last the country for upward of 80 years. So it's a huge gas reserve. However, data also shows that Nigeria is not utilizing up to 10% of the gas deposit in both in production and in consumption. Even a much lower level of gas is being processed, is being processed to cleaner gas that can be used. And out of what is even being produced, 10% of it is still not being utilized within the country for the for the purpose of cooking and other activities that gas is needed for. So the level of gas utilization within the country is very, in fact, Nigeria is at the bottom when it comes to countries' consumption of gas in relation to other countries who also have gas reserves. So
So if our dependence on gas is very very low compared to other countries, then what is our strength? What are we now depending on? I want to know.
importation.
Okay. That is okay. You're talking about local processing.
Yes,
Of our
local
gas.
processing of the gas
is quite low.
is
And
very,
this would have
very
also
low.
have helped in our
Yes.
electricity.
In electricity, because most of, like we have seen, 80% of our generation
You said so.
infrastructure uses gas. There are gas thermals. So because of that, and that has affected. In fact, one of the recently one of the companies that went public, Geregu Power.
Yes, get a good one.
The most recent results that I published on the Nigerian Stock Exchange showed that it lost up to 600 million in revenue as a result of inadequate gas for it to run its plant. So imagine losing all as much as that in revenue prospect, because the gas that we have abundance of it in reserves within the country is not being produced enough so that they can have it for power generation. And by it also extends to homes. Many Nigerians are having to spend so much to buy gas, to the point that a whole lot of people, so many families are not able to afford buying gas for their use in their homes. They are now resorting to going back to the use of charcoal, which has so many health implication for the environment, and so on. And such, even with the fact that, to the point that people are even coming up with all manners of stoves, just in the bid to make use of charcoal look trendy
and attractive.
and attractive. But at the bottom line is still the same uh, charcoal with its bad impact on the environment.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, we've been talking about harnessing these gas reserves for our own use. And you talked about the world moving away from unrenewable energy,
Yeah,
of
fossil
which gas now,
fuels.
fossil fuels. Now, what happened to our professionals? I thought we'll have maybe indigenous organizations or all these or that can actually go into it. Is it that it's only expatriates that are conversant, that are proficient in all this?
No, it's not actually that. You see, the before now, even the expatriates, the
Mm.
international oil companies, a lot of the contracts they signed was for exploration of
Of crude.
crude oil.
Mm.
So they actually go for crude, and what they don't, of course, they can't get all crude. In the process of getting the crude, there's gas that comes with
In
it,
it.
and that is called associated gas.
Mm.
The gas that's not the major thing they are looking for. It's coming with the crude. And
Mm.
what they've been doing over the years is to flay this gas.
Yes.
You see, when you go to exploration site, you see gas flays,
Mm.
wasting
Wasting
the
it.
gas that should have been processed. And because it requires a different set of technology, a
Mm.
different set of infrastructure to be able to harness this gas so that it can be used. And they are not ready. The international firms have been cutting down on
The
their
activities.
investment in this, as a result of pressure from investors, pressure from shareholders, because of the global drive for energy transition. So fresh investments are not coming in on that front.
Mm.
So, but of course, that doesn't exclude that our domestic indigenous
That's what I'm saying.
oil
Yes, companies.
companies cannot take that up.
Is it that they don't have the technical wherewithal?
They have it. We have a number of them, but however, it is not enough. The only real producer of gas that we have now in the country is the NLNG, and it's what it produces. It's way
Below.
below. Many of the gas sellers and distributors, they depend on NLNG.
Mm.
However, what they produce is not enough. So there is still need for government to focus
Mm.
on how to increase the processing of
Process.
gas in country.
On a break. When we come back, we'll be talking more on our topic for discussion today. Don't go away.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back. You're still on to Energy Focus on Money Radio. That is brought to you on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Weber, and with me in the studio is Inse Anthony Uko. Inse, thank you so much once again. And the topic for our discussion today is how proliferation of charcoal stoves undermines decades of gas. Yes, years back, like I started with, we saw reports. There were reports of federal government actually purchasing stoves for some few Nigerians just to buttress the fact that Nigeria was moving and embracing decades of gas. Since that fanfare, he said nothing was heard again. And what is the situation on ground, right? Actually,
Of course, stoves were purchased,
Mm.
and these stoves, they are the fuel needs to be refilled. Imagine buying a gas cylinder, stove with a gas cylinder, and giving it out to someone. And at that point, when these stoves were purchased and given out, how much was the 12 kg of gas?
gas
It was around
2000.
2,000.
2000.
So it is
Right.
at that point, after they finished using up that one, it was easy for them to go and refill the gas at a cheaper rate. And at that point, they could actually look at it and say, okay, it's cheaper, it's cleaner, it's more economical for me in the long run. So of course they collected it, they used it. And because the supply of gas consequently was not there, all of this have been dumped. They finished the initial gas. Now it is way more
Way
expensive
too expensive.
for them. And when you now add the high cost of food, so for let's say someone is earning minimum wage, and you have on a monthly basis, you need to refill gas for above 10,000 naira. And then we're not talking of your food that you buy, talking of transportation for the family, energy and other costs. So it becomes way out. What will most of them do but to set aside the stoves that we are given? Okay, there's no more fuel for it. We'll put it away to one side. And then there are charcoal stoves coming up everywhere. Many people are making, so it's not really that old-fashioned iron contraption that you have to pour charcoal into. There are so many new ones that they are making these days that look so trendy, that looks like
They want to make it attractive
of
to
course,
viewers.
and a lot of people
to
have gone.
Nigerians.
Yes, a lot of people have gone out and developed some very fancy things. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, it's charcoal that you pour into it, and it still emits the same fumes and the same pollutants that it emits into the system. So, but for many Nigerians, they find this cheaper with 100 naira, with 200 naira. In fact, if you buy charcoal of up to 1,000 naira, for some homes, that can last them for over a week in cooking. So when they look at this, to them, economically, it's
cheaper.
It's cheaper for them. And so a lot of people are embracing it. And all the efforts that has been put into procurement of those stoves, the decade of gas project, convincing many people to migrate from the use of charcoal to embrace gas. All of it is fast going down the drain because nothing or what is being done is not yielding the desired result for the end users.
No, what is the federal government actually doing about it? Considering the fact that because there are so many policy somersaults in the country. Now you came up with these decades of gas. At the end of the day, the price of gas has skyrocketed out of the reach of ordinary Nigerians. Recently, we had talks of subsidizing gas, but nothing has been heard. What concerted efforts is the federal government making
The
to
issue
address
of
this?
I'm not sure the issue of subsidizing gas would be on the table, because if we want to go by the Minister of State's for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Silva, if we want to go by his statement on kerosene, right now kerosene has gone way reach out
Yes,
of the
yes,
of the
over
ordinary.
900 naira.
It's above data
985.
from the National Bureau of Statistics showed that a liter of kerosene actually crossed 1,000, above 1,000. So at that rate, it has gone out of the reach of the commoners. So, but the minister said that this is actually kerosene is actually a deregulated product, and as a result, government cannot step in. So if we can bring that response to gas is also deregulated, and we have seen the hole that the federal government has dug for itself when it comes to petrol regulating the price of petrol. I'm not sure it's something the federal government would want to go into this time around, that is trying to extricate itself from the responsibility of the petrol subsidy payment. So on the other hand, it's not about providing subsidy, because in the long run subsidy is not sustainable. But how about making the system, the environment conducive for investors to be able to come in? How about setting up funds? Because here now, funding is really the issue. Funding is the major issue. The Central Bank of Nigeria before now has announced a 250 billion fund for gas development. But what many of the operators are saying is that this amount is just too small. What will the 250 billion procure? And that 250 billion is the entire amount, whereby one single company will require much more than that. So how many, the resources you're going to give them, because the 250 billion, of course, is not for CBN will not give it to a single company. So what will it do for them? What is not enough to say you're putting off an intervention. When we collect this money, is it actually enough for us to do any meaningful thing out of it? So there is need for the federal government to be able to put in place an intervention that will really make meaning to the operators, an intervention that will allow them to be able to set up real gas processing plants, and then have a good repayment structure, whereby they can be able to, it can be sustainable in the long run. And if these things are processed in country, then Nigeria will not be facing the high price, the fluctuation that we are seeing in the international market.
Wow, that was a long and analysis, this I must say. Now, I want to also find out now, from what you just said, your explanations given, can't these, can it be, bidded out?
Of course, it can be. There's also that
At least to local industries, those that have the strength and the muscle to finance it.
It can be bidded out, and actually there are bids for it under the Nigerian gas commercialization program. There is a provision for it, for bids on it, and they've been bidded out. The awards of those bids are still being expected to be finalized. However,
It seems to be taking so long.
it has taken it. That was before the PIA came on board, and now the PIA is here, is beginning to be operational. So I think they are trying to bring it under that purview and repackage it. And but what I'm saying, what the operators have still maintained is that the issue, just like we have had in the case of crude oil, Nigeria is not able to increase its crude oil production, basically because new investments are not coming in. Even the Nigerians, the local oil companies that have licenses, they need more often than not, they often need financing from outside the country. And because of the issue with financing from the international, from the global perspective, where a lot of them are cutting down on financing anything that has to do with fossil, then it means that there has to be something else. There has to be another financing option that is not left to the companies on their own, where the weight of the federal government will have to come in, maybe in terms of grants or in terms of guarantees and all that, so that financing can be more accessible to the operators for this for the processing to be expanded.
So as it is presently, as it is presently,
Yes.
So no hope for now.
Of course, there is hope. However, this hinges on the financing. Financing is a major issue right now, which government should be focusing on. As it's working on the bids, as companies are bidding and more companies are seeking to go into gas. CBN has done a 250 billion naira intervention, which the operators are saying is inadequate. Government needs to be looking at ways that this funding can be increased, and or policies, things can be done that will enhance Nigeria getting funding to expand the processing of gas in country.
Given the the importance and crucial nature of gas, I think the federal government actually should heed to it and do all it takes to ensure that Nigeria can harness its gas, and at the end of the day, make it so easily available for Nigerians. But viewers, this is where we are calling it a day on today's program. Issa, before we go, you have any last word to say?
Yeah, the federal government has done a good thing in declaring the decade of gas. And then gas has been identified as the transition fuel for Nigeria. It goes beyond declaration. It should move beyond declaration and actually put in place the enabling environment to ensure that all these declarations are made to work.
All right, thank you so much. You've heard it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Until we come your way again, same time, same station. I remember Winifred Global. See you.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.